welcome to a new Guitar-Nerdery video. This episode is for those guitar players who are interested in and want to learn the tapping technique. I'm going to provide you some basic information and very important details you should pay attention to when it comes to starting practicing tapping technique to avoid major mistakes right from the beginning. The tapping technique is a legato technique. That means compared to picking, notes have much less attack and the sound is very smooth, round and flowing. The strong points of this technique are that you can play really fast, relatively easy, and if you want to, you can play these fast runs with really great tonal intervals because you're using two hands. You can use the whole range of a string. Tapping on the guitar means basically hammer on, pull off with the right hand. Just to mention, when I say right hand, for the left-handed guitar players, it means the left hand, of course. So my first recommendation is fret a note with your left hand, some note on some string. On the same string, try to articulate another note by tapping it. And this should sound the same as if you would play it with the hammer on of your left hand. If you have absolutely never done this, it feels a little odd in the beginning, but you should get used to this. Try this on different strings. This is called tap, therefore the tapping technique, and it's the same as a hammer on. And we have also pulls, pull-offs. And it works the same like you would do with your left hand. It's not just only lifting your finger, no, you have to pull the string. And there are two different ways you can do this pull-off. You can pull in your direction, or you can pull the opposite direction. You have to find out what suits you the most and then go for it. I always do the pull-offs in my direction. For me it's the same like with the left hand. You pull into your hand, and this is also this. And besides finding out which direction you prefer to pull, up or down, you can also think about which of your fingers you want to make your main tapping finger. Intuitively, a lot of guitar players choose the index finger. But I just from beginning thought, hey, if I use the index finger, I have to put the plectrum somewhere. And I'm not very handy with such kind of things. So I decided to make my middle finger my main tapping finger. Maybe this is an idea that also works for you. And then try to tap and pull alternately. And really concentrate on the sound, that your note has substance, that it's really there. And then for the fun you can change positions, and then you have already a lick. My next tip is a more difficult one. I'm talking about damping. When playing tapping technique, you have to damp those strings you do not use all the time. Tapping technique is mostly played on a distorted guitar, and distortion, you can see it also as a kind of compression. And compression is what we need First, because we have no attack of a plectrum, tapping technique tends to be a very quiet playing style, so it has to get a kind of boost to go to the forefront. And when you're playing tapping technique on a clean guitar or on an acoustic guitar, them notes you play tend to have a really great dynamic range, and that makes it really hard to put that in a band context. Imagine you're playing in a rock band and you have a solo spot and you're using tapping technique. When the notes have a really great dynamic range, some notes will pop out and some notes will drown. So, therefore, most of the times we use distortion also as a kind of compression, or you need a compressor. But what you get then is we have a signal to noise ratio. All the noise that is much more quiet than your notes you're playing, the noise goes really far up with a compressor or a distortion. And that can be really disturbing and suck out the sound of your notes you're playing. Even if your movements are really exact on the string, if you do not damp, just by self-resonance, all them other strings begin to ring and to disturb. Some guitar players who use the tapping technique really often, like Jennifer Batten or Greg Howe. Jennifer Batten uses a damper when she's tapping. She puts a damper on the strings and moves it away when she doesn't tap. And Greg Howe uses a kind of a hair tie that he moves onto the strings when he's playing tapping technique and pushes it away when he's not. But I'm gonna show you how you can do this without these tools, but you have to take care and practice this right from the beginning. If you want to use your hands to damp the strings, you have to do it while playing, and the overall idea goes as follows. When playing the high E string, all strings above are damped by the right hand that at the same time is doing the tapping. The opposite of this, when I play the low E string, I cannot damp with my right hand anymore, so all the damping is up to the left hand. And it goes like this. You're fretting the notes you want to play. At the same time, in this case, I have my index finger completely flat upon all those 5 strings underneath it. So I damp all those strings with that finger at the same time. And if you're playing on strings in between, these 4 strings, you have to use both hands to damp. It's always those strings that are under the notes you're playing, you're damping with your left hand, and those above with the right hand. So you got actually that movement. Practicing this solves another issue at the same time. It comes in very handy for your tapping hand when it has a guide. When you're tapping with your index finger, you can use your thumb and tap like this. And what I do, because I tap with my middle finger and I use my palm to damp, this is automatically my guide here, my hold. Only when I play the low E string, I have to get away from the fretboard, but then I still lean on the body of the guitar. So I have here my anchor. Even when tapping in these low positions here, I still have my elbow on the guitar. Maybe you have already some cool licks on your list you want to learn, but if not, I have a very easy to learn first tapping lick for you, and I'm gonna use it in a few to show you another issue you shouldn't forget when learning tapping technique. The lick goes like this. Okay, now slow. It's actually an A minor arpeggio. The whole lick is on one string, in this case on the high E string. The first note is a tap in the 12th fret. Then a pull to the 5th fret where already your index finger is fretting the A. Then a hammer on with the left hand to the 8th fret. Then again a tap, 12th fret. Then again a pull, but now to the note in the 8th fret, it's a C. And then a left hand pull off. That's all. A 6-note lick. Slow. That's slow, it's a little bit abstract, so let me speed it up. So you first can try this, and therefore you have also to damp these 5 strings here. You see? I hold my hand like this, I lay it on these 5 strings and tap in the 12th fret. If I wouldn't do this, it would sound like this. It's not possible to keep them quiet, them other strings. The next thing you can do is using the A minor pentatonic shape, the well-known shape, this one here. Use it as pattern for fingerings for your left hand, and knowing this is A minor and all notes in the 12th fret belong also to A minor. So we can combine the pentatonic shape here in A and combine it with the all notes in the 12th fret, and these we are going to tap, of course. So here again the lick on the high E string. If you want to practice now that lick on the B string to also practice the damping, so here you have to damp the high E string, use here these 2 notes because they belong to the A minor pentatonic shape, and tap again here in the 12th fret and play the same lick. G string. On the D string, on the A string, and look, here I only damp the low E string, the rest underneath the A string that I'm playing here is damped by my index finger. And here I completely go away with my right hand and play the low E string. And all 5 strings underneath the note on the low E string are damped. It comes in very handy to practice it like this, to use the A minor pentatonic shape, so you already play in one key. course, you do not have to play that fast, or you shouldn't even. Start really slow and lay focus on good tone that comes along with good damping technique. You have to solve a lot of issues at first, so take your time. And now a final issue you should really take care of. I'm talking about timing. Doesn't matter what kind of playing technique you choose. There is never an excuse to play notes with bad timing. Tapping is a more difficult technique to develop a good timing with, because timing is spread on both hands and it's just not so clear like when picking. Using the lick I just showed you as an example, I'm going to show you how you should start right from the beginning, practice tapping licks. A good timing is what makes what you play sound good. You can play 100,000 notes, you can play 3 notes. If the timing isn't right, it just doesn't sound good. So my first recommendation here is using a metronome. And I'm going to show you 2 ways how you can use it. This lick consists of 6 notes. And all that has to do with 3, we tend to play it like triplets. And that is what you can do first. Play it as 8th triplets. 1 and the 2 and the 3 and the 4 and the... I just played to the metronome at the tempo 80 beats per minute. And what I'm gonna do now is lower the tempo to 60. It's 1/4 less than 80. And instead of playing 8th triplets, I'm gonna play 16th notes. And these 16th notes at tempo 60 are as fast as 8th triplets at tempo 80. That's very cool. So I have no speed up at all here. I can play the same tempo, but the lick lies differently now in the groove. Playing a lick that is consisting of 6 notes as triplets fits perfectly into one bar. Especially this lick, all the tappings lay exactly on the counts. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Playing exactly that lick as 16th notes, then it doesn't perfectly fit into one bar. Its repetitions cross the bar lines. It takes a few bars until it lands again on the 1. And the tapping is not on the counts anymore. And that makes it sound really interesting, but it's also a great rhythm exercise. Technically, nothing is changing. You're playing just the same. But because it lies differently in the groove, it feels completely different. And it's probably more difficult to play it with a good timing, to play them 16th notes right, because you do not have the tap on the counts, and therefore a little less orientation. 1A and a 2A and a 3A and a 4A and a... Keep this in mind. If you want to train 8th triplets and also the 16th notes, choose one tempo for the 8th triplets, and then for the 16th notes, subtract a quarter of the tempo of it. For example, if you choose tempo 120 for 8th triplets, then you can play 16th notes at 90. And then you keep the playing tempo. Or tempo 160 for 8th triplets, and then 120 for 16th notes. Let me show you. And now 120. This was it for today. I hope I could provide you with some good information about how to start into the tapping playing technique and that you can avoid some major mistakes that are done very often in future. If you like the content and if you not already have, please don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'm looking very forward to see you next time.